It's time for football, and that means we're talking sports. Horse racing, greyhound racing, and sports betting with your host, Kip Keefer. Don't just watch the action. Get out to Birmingham Greyhound Racing and put a bet on it. Here are today's tips and strategies to help you get in the winning game. Now here's Kip Keefer.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another week of Talking Sports, the best college football pregame program on the air. Kip Keefer and the legend ready to go on this Saturday. And we are brought to you by Birmingham Greyhound Racing. We've got a couple of big events they've got coming up to talk about, but we'll get a quick opening comment in here. You know, when you're a good quarterback, you get the ball to your playmakers. This is my man. Legend, are you pumped for this week?
30 minutes away from kickoff, ladies and gentlemen. You've tuned into the station 13-6 after the first 4 weeks, blowing it up, sending money out everywhere. Tune in today. We got more great picks, giveaway at the Birmingham Race Course. Kip, I'm pumped, baby. 30 minutes from kickoff.
It sounds like
Let me hand it back to you.
We had our first. Oh, thank you very much. I'm looking for winners this week. Had our first subpar week last week with Legends, Losers, and Kip's Catastrophes. But you may notice we're standing this week because it's no time for sitting down.
No time.
We got to get you winners, and we are getting into the serious part of the season.
Ooh, I'm ready to put the pads on right now, Kip. Coach, send me in, Coach. Send me in.
What a great day in the SEC. We're going to preview all of those games and some really compelling matchups. Let me tell you real quick about 2 huge events coming up from our sponsor, Birmingham Greyhound Racing. On the 27th, Alabama and Auburn both have the day off. That's their bye week. The Magic City Classic is here in town, down at Legion Field. It's an afternoon game. In the evening on Saturday the 27th, Birmingham Greyhound Racing is giving away a classic Mustang, and it is sweet. It's going to be a great place to go for after the game, to watch the games that are going on that night, and somebody's going to drive out of there with a classic Mustang.
Drove it myself, Kip, this week out at the Birmingham Race Course, cleaned it up for them, shined the wheels. It is a beaut. This is your opportunity to ride around in style, finally get that woman to get a date with, because you know that little Pinto you got ain't getting it done.
Are there still Pintos there?
Yeah, I see several in Arndale.
Oh, my gosh. So, guys, that's not good dating strategy. The second event is the very next week on Friday the 2nd and Saturday the 3rd of November, the Super Bowl of Thoroughbred Racing, the Breeders' Cup, which is at Churchill Downs up in Kentucky. It is the mega money weekend for horse racing fans. You have payoffs on those races that are hard to believe, and it's just a great, great couple of days of horse racing and winning action. You only really need to hit one big one to have your ship come in for the year. So make your plans now. You got to call 838-7500 to get reservations, because you want to have a spot for Breeders' Cup week, particularly Breeders' Cup Saturday at the track.
I'm not used to standing, Kip. You got to give me the ball, bro. I mean, I'm like moving around. I want to get in the game with you, ladies and gentlemen. I tell you, it's happening out at the Birmingham Race Course, ladies and gentlemen. Giveaways, Breeders' Cup. You can bet on horse racing. Yes, right here in Birmingham at the Birmingham Race Course. It's popping. If you ain't been there, you're missing out.
Well, let's switch gears to one of our weekly features. It is the recap of last week, and as I mentioned, from a selection standpoint, I'm hanging my head in shame. SEC, good, bad, and ugly. I will kick that off by telling you that my pick of Mississippi State turned out to be really ugly.
That was ugly.
The Bulldogs laid a big-time egg for Coach Joe Moorhead.
That was ugly, Kip. That had to be the ugliest thing in the SEC. Joe Moorhead is just not ready for the SEC. We seen last weekend Dan Mullen school Joe Moorhead, and I don't think he's ready. Mississippi State is sliding downhill, Kip. I look for them to slide even further. We'll get into it this week.
Well, my great radio partner, Terry Quillian, her quote was, well, that's what they get for hiring a Yankee coach.
That's it. That's what you get. Stay in the SEC, get SEC results. You know, you asked the coach went to Arkansas, I forget his name, that big old fellow weighed about 400 pounds.
Brett Bielema.
Yeah, there you go. You got him. But he didn't belong in the SEC, and he figured it out. You got to know the SEC. No conference like it in the nation, Kip.
And on the good side, what a satisfying win. Dan Mullen goes back to Mississippi State and wins at Scott Field, where he had been coaching for a long time, with a team that arguably doesn't have as good a roster. So Dan Mullen already making a difference at Florida.
Yeah, just a couple weeks ago, the Florida Gators, we was talking about them here, calling you a little bitty Gator. Well, you grew a little bit last week. Now you like a 4-foot Gator. Florida put themselves back in the conversation, and that's what you have to do in the SEC. You get knocked down, you got to get back up. You get knocked down 2 or 3 times, you out of it, Kip.
That's for sure. Some other goods last week, I guess you have to give more credit to the Kentucky Wildcats.
Yes.
They continue to pass every test, and basically they just absolutely dominated that game with the Gamecocks.
Yeah, I love this Kentucky team. This is not the same Cat team, ladies and gentlemen, that we have grew up watching, laughing at, saying, bring on basketball. No, this team is for real, and I look for them. We'll talk about it in a few minutes, but also I think this is a team that's going to surprise some folks even this week.
Yeah, that's a game that we're going to talk about it a lot. They are at Texas A&M. That's one of the – I mean, there are so many games in the SEC that really can go either way, and that's one of the great things about college football, that you've got these matchups where, you know, it's not just you know the result going in, like the Alabama-Arkansas game. There are a bunch of games this week that are really in contention and really up in the air.
You know, Kip, I just noticed if I stand like this, I kind of favor John Elway a little bit.
Let's see. Yeah, I can see it.
Yes, I'm ready, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I've been wanting to do this all year.
Kip. Come on, baby.
I've been wanting to strike the Heisman pose all year. There
we
we
go.
I said a few weeks ago on the show, I played football all through my youth, and I don't remember a single time on the football field I gave it one of these.
Well, that's because you never scored, Kip.
Oh, that's true. Well, that's true. Well, no, I'll leave that comment alone.
Leave that comment alone.
All right, so we've got some good, we got some ugly. Some bad last week. I mean, I guess there were some examples of bad. I thought Georgia looked pretty ordinary in a game that they kind of sleptwalked through against Tennessee.
This is a soft team. Georgia, you are disappointing me. I called you Joe Frazier, but you're more like Tex Cobb. You're just sitting there getting hit in the face time and time again. I mean, Georgia, you're not ready for Alabama. I tell you something else that was bad last week. That choke job that Penn State did with Ohio State.
They had them on the ropes.
James Franklin, just give it up. You're never going to the playoffs.
Ohio State wiggles off the hook more than any. They should have been a fish. They're expert at it. We got to come back after this short break, and we are going to get into Alabama and Auburn's matchups this week. Kip and the Legend, we're having a blast. Glad you're on board on Talking Sports.